Liberty in our lifetimes in a free state of our own. That's the vision. That's the dream. We are building it in New Hampshire. I'm Eric Brakey, your host and renegade statesman for the Porcupine Report. Welcome to your source for porcupine news and free-range conversation on matters of liberty. All right, let's hop into the show. Hey there, all you porcupines. This is your host, your renegade statesman, your executive director of the New Hampshire Free State Project. Thank you so much for joining us for another wonderful episode 71. It's kind of crazy to think, when you do one episode a week and you give them a number and you started, basically when you started this job, it really is nice to take account of how many weeks you've been doing this. 71 weeks, 71 episodes. Our audience continues growing. I continue getting great feedback when I'm out and about, whether it's at PorcFest or just bumping into people at my local coffee shop who are listening to the show. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. And just a reminder, of course, we produce and publish a new episode every single Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. And it is published on Free State Project channels, our X and Facebook and YouTube and Spotify pages, as well as other podcasting platforms. Whatever platform you're enjoying this show, it would mean so much to me if you would take the appropriate action for that platform, like to share it with your friends or to leave a nice comment about why you're enjoying the show or to like or subscribe or whatever makes sense. All these platforms, it's different things. On Spotify, there's a whole thing about like hitting the bell so you get alerts. Whatever works for you, that to make sure that you are getting these new episodes right directly to you when they come out. And that you are sharing the love around. Let your friends and family know. Those who love liberty will love the show. And if they don't love the show, then they don't love liberty. And why are they your friend in the first place? That's not fair, actually. I have some good friends who have yet to realize that liberty is the way. We can be friends with them. But we're going to have a good show for you today. I'm looking forward to welcoming onto the program a friend of mine who's never been, this will be his first time on the show. We'll be introducing him in a moment. But before we get there, a few things I want to announce. First of all, I want to recognize, as I have the last couple of weeks, our sponsor for the Porcupine Report, which is, of course, Porcupine Coffee Roasting. I got some right here. Our new sponsor, Porcupine Coffee Roasting. This isn't just coffee. It's a revolution in your mug, proudly operated by Free Staters in the Free State. They roast only specialty grade beans from small producers, always fresh, roasted in small batches to order with a roast date you can trust. No stale beans, none from these liberty lovers. Porcupine Coffee is all about sovereignty. As a private membership association, they embody the live free or die ethic, giving freedom-minded folks like you a way to choose liberty with every sip. It's crafted for the caffeinated and freedom-loving, perfect for those living in the Free State, or just maybe you're outside the Free State. They do ship around the country, but you want to embody that Free State spirit, and you can do that with Porcupine Coffee Roasting. So when you drink Porcupine Coffee, you're supporting a small independent PMA powered by Free Staters dedicated to living free. And here is the deal. Use code PorcReport at porcupinecoffee.com to get 15% off your order of any individual products. Plus, a portion of your purchase will go to help support this very program. That sounds like a win-win for everyone. It's a win for you. You get great coffee at a good price. It's a win for us. You help support the program, and it's a win for Free Staters who are building a great private membership association, delivering some great coffee. So grab your fresh roasted coffee and support liberty one cup at a time. Head to porcupinecoffee.com and use PorcReport for that 15% off. Live free, drink free with your fellow Free Staters. I do believe that is a nice cup of coffee. All right, into the rest of our show. A few events I want to highlight for you coming up before we get into our conversation today. One coming up very soon. In fact, 10 days from the day this episode publishes, this event will be happening right here in New Hampshire with our friends from the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. They're doing their annual NHLA Liberty Dinner. And that's going to be at Murphy's Tap Room and Carriage House in Bedford. This is where this is kind of a big shindig. I went for the first time last year, and I'll tell you, the special guest this year is so much better than the special guest they had last year. The special guest they had last year was someone they had to tap in last minute, and he didn't have a lot of time to prepare. He did all right. That was me. I was their special guest last year, talking about my 5 lessons for Liberty legislators. But this year, they've got Justin Pearson from the Institute for Justice. And the Institute for Justice, I've been a big fan of this organization for a long time. They do a lot of great work against civil asset forfeiture issues. Well, I've worked with them on a lot of different issues. They do a lot of great things around in terms of working within state legislatures to advance certain kind of liberty issues. But we're going to be hearing from Justin Pearson of the Institute for Justice. And you can get your tickets at libertydinner.com. libertydinner.com. That'll be for Saturday, July 19th. And I hope to see you there. It's a pretty fancy affair, actually. Folks in the Free State like to dress up, go full suit and tie for this Liberty Dinner. I'm sure I will myself. So if you're in the Free State on next Saturday, the 19th, you're not going to want to miss this. Grab your tickets at libertydinner.com. And I will mention that the Free State Project is a sponsor of the New Hampshire Liberty Dinner. So we'll be there in force. Looking forward to it and hope to see you there. Additionally, another event that I mentioned on the last program and is coming up, this one will require leaving the Free State, but for good reason. On August 9th, Young Americans for Liberty is hosting Ron Paul's 90th birthday barbecue dinner. It's going to be a huge celebration with a lot of great speakers, a lot of great guests. It's like a whole reunion of the Ron Paul Revolution. If you were a part of the Ron Paul Revolution, if you were there in 2008 and 2012 fighting to spread the ideas of liberty that this humble country doctor and 30-year Texas congressman espoused and fought for, then this is the event for you. I hope that you can come and join us. It's going to be in Lake Jackson, Texas, right in Ron Paul's old former congressional district, not too far away from where he lives. It's going to be good times, good food, good people. If you go to, what's the website here? ronpaulbbq.com. ronpaulbbq.com. You can get tickets, and you can also see the whole roster of speakers that are going to be there. Some of the ones that I remember off the top of my head. Of course, there's going to be Ron Paul, our friend Tom Woods, Tulsi Gabbard, Spike Cohen, Scott Horton, a lot of folks. And hopefully you. I know we're sending a pretty big contingent of Free Staters down. We want to have a good Free State delegation there, not only to wish Dr. Paul well on his 90th birthday, but also I bet you there are some good potential libertarian movers who are getting frustrated with whatever state of tyranny they're living in, who might be interested to hear about what's taking place in New Hampshire. So it's both an opportunity to wish Dr. Paul well, to have a reunion with some old friends, and to do some recruiting for the Free State, which we're always looking to do. So ronpaulbbq.com, August 9th in Lake Jackson, Texas. Perhaps I will see you there. And the third event, I'm saving this one for last because we're going to be talking about this one quite a bit with our guest today, is Freedom Palooza. I mentioned this last week. This is a Free State music festival that takes place annually in the North Country of New Hampshire. It's going to be happening this July 25th through the 27th at Roaring Brook Farm. And we have a discount code for this. You can use discount code Porcupine 2025 for 5% off your tickets. So that's Porcupine 2025, save 5% on your tickets. And we're going to be hearing from a lot of great groups: the Free State Acoustics, Brendan Daniel, Red Pill Friends, the Mammals, Jude Roberts, Jody Shaw, the Hat Guy, Mike Miranda, Cindy Gay and Friends. It's It's going to be a good time. I'm planning to bring my tent and camp out for the full 3 days of it. But whether you're coming for the whole weekend or you just want to come for a day, they have both. They have passes available for day passes and also just if you want to come for the whole thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I will see you there. And I want to welcome to the show our guest for today. His name is Keith Bessette, and he is, I want to call him a free stater, but he hasn't quite moved here yet. He's been visiting a lot over the last couple of years from Florida. He is the originator of the Free State Acoustics group, which really kind of was born, as I understand it, at PorcFest and has been going for the last 5 years. And it seems like he often comes up to New Hampshire and thinks he's going back to Florida, but ends up getting stuck up here longer and longer as he kind of finds more and more amazing events and communities to participate with. I'm hoping that one day he will just forget to go back to Florida and discover that he now lives here. Actually, before we bring him on, we've got a clip for you. As I said, he started the Free State Acoustics. We got a little music clip of the Free State Acoustics. We'll play in just a moment, and we'll have a whole song that we'll play at the end of this podcast for those who stick around, a little bonus reward for you. So let's play that clip, and then we'll welcome to the show Keith Bessette.
Sylvia's mother said, Sylvia's hurrying. She's catching the 9 o'clock train. Sylvia's mother said, take your umbrella, 'cause Sylvia, it's starting to rain. And Sylvia's mother said, thank you for calling, and sir, won't you call?
It's a little taste of the Free State Acoustics, which will be playing at Freedom Palooza. Now let's welcome to the show Keith Bessette.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, what did we just watch?
We saw a video recorded last year that's in the garage or barn at Freedom Palooza at Roaring Brook Farms. It was recorded last summer. It's Sylvia's mother. That was the verse. I think if I remember right, that's the verse where Sylvia's taking the train to New Hampshire and her mother's telling her that, yes, Sylvia's moving. I think that's what it was. Yeah, that's the band Free State Acoustics. That's one example. We have a pretty wide range of songs. That's a Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show song. People remember back then.
Well, I know I've enjoyed hearing you guys play and being able to jump in a few times with you guys on some songs at PorcFest or at the Shell or wherever you guys seem to migrate all around the state to do these jam sessions, and it's really nice. I think that a lot of people think that like the Free State project and the Free State movement is just a bunch of libertarians like standing around arguing about economics or like Milton Friedman versus Murray Rothbard, but I think kind of you all with the Free State Acoustics are demonstrating it's like, we largely agree on these things. We can do other stuff too. We can be artistic. We can build all sorts of things. But before we get into all of that, Keith, tell folks a little bit more about yourself. your relation to the Free State movement, how long you've been coming up for PorcFest, and what your journey's been like.
Okay. Well, as you was wondering how you introduced me, but I live in Florida, technically, legally.
We don't hold it
I've
against
come
you
up
much.
for some people do hold it against me, so I have to answer the question, when are you moving? Often. I was up here. It's been 5 years we've been coming up to PorcFest. I've heard about the project back from before the vote. So I've known about it. I don't remember why, but I think Reason Magazine, I was a subscriber, starting back when Nick Gillespie was the young editor, and I dropped my subscription, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago when they became Beltway Libertarians. But I think that's where I first heard about it. So it took me till 5 years ago to finally make it to a PorcFest. And I walked in, I did the Soapbox Idol. I did a rant, which I worked on. I thought it was a great rant about the Declaration of Independence, how it's all bogus. I explained why every line in there is wrong. I thought it was so controversial. Like, I brought that up in the Liberty groups, and I think I got like a 3 or something. The first judge, I forget who it was, looked at me, and I think it was Jeremy, and he just said, well, we really want you to do something controversial. and I looked at him like, what? And then I thought, oh, I think I'm with my people here. Like, it isn't even like that. That's a loser topic. And I thought it was a little over the top. So anyway,
you didn't realize you were inside the Overton window for
I was
PorcFest.
well inside the window. So that's kind of how that was my first year. We stayed for a week or two after went camping in the White Mountains. We came up with our camper, my girlfriend, Renata, and I. Then the next year we stayed about a month. And we did a tour. Dennis Pratt, this is when I first met Dennis, and he got me going around the different areas. So we went to each region. We went to the Seacoast region, camped there for a week. The Monadnock, I only stayed there for a year. It wasn't enough to learn how to pronounce it. And stayed there for a week. The Lakes region briefly, and the North Country. And we met Chris and Jennifer, who own the Roaring Brook Farms, where Freedom Palooza is. And we kind of liked the North Country, so we ended up spending more time there. So anyway, fast forward to last year, ended up staying up here for 5 months, doing a lot of Free State Acoustics gigs. So one other thing I'll just mention, you brought up the talking, the Murray Rothbard versus David Friedman, or last year, absolutely great, event debate between Gene Epstein, and they're talking about very subtle economics points. I'm sitting there like, I really like this. And I look around, there's all these people like down to 18 years old, and they're engaged like totally. Like, this is amazing. And I've done a bunch of talks. I started out thinking I really like the talks.
Yeah.
And so I've done talks on secession and traveling with firearms and off-grid communications. And then I found out that I could get a lot more people together by playing guitar, and it's more fun. So that's what I've done more.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly, I don't want to create the false impression that we never stand around debating the Chicago school versus the Austin school. We do that too, but we do enjoy that, but we are not limited to just debating libertarianism. There's so many things when liberty is a lifestyle, and you have whole communities that are building up. So many different ways to engage with people and build community. And Keith, I do want to let you know, you said that last year you were up for 5 months. You know that if you like add a month and a day like to that this year, you will officially be at like living in New Hampshire, right? That's the rule, right? If you spend 6 months and a day there, then that's where you are.
I don't know. I guess you're the one to ask as your position. What is the rule? Is it 6 months and 1 day?
Well, I think 6 months and 1 day is, I guess, what counts for, I guess, like for the tax code and stuff. But I guess for like Florida and New Hampshire, neither of them have the income tax, so I guess it doesn't matter so much. I know in Maine, that's a big thing. Like people will spend 6 months and a day in New Hampshire or Florida or Texas or somewhere so they can avoid the Maine state income tax. But maybe it's more of a psychological threshold for this.
There are people that do that in Florida, 6 months and 1 day, which I've always done. There's also a homestead rebate tax. Florida has considerably reduced property taxes. won't get into that, but that's one of the differences I noticed. I've been researching properties for the last year or so.
Yeah.
Definitely property taxes are higher here, but everything else is lower. No sales tax is awesome. So that's a good one. But anyway, yeah, 6 months and 1 day. So that's where the line would be. I'm not quite there yet. I'm a month shy of that as of last year, but we've been doing longer and longer each year.
Yeah. Well, so having been at this kind of for 5 years now, being a perpetual visitor to the Free State, and frankly, Keith, you're up here so much that I have to remind myself that you don't actually live here because I see you around so much. But what advice would you give to someone? Let's say someone was coming out to a Free State project event, like a PorcFest or a Liberty Forum, or just kind of one of the many events that dot our calendar year round. If they want to like get involved in the community and build something, like you did that, like, and you've been at it for 5 years. Like what advice would you give to someone who wanted to find their tribe, their community here?
Well, the first advice, I think the key advice is that finding your tribe is part of it, like finding the people. But as far as what you want to do, I think you have to figure that out for yourself. And I am 3 or 4 things into what should I do. I'm a big proponent of secession, so that was my focus for several years at PorcFest. But now I'm into music. I've done traveling with firearms. I did a lot with communication, like communicating without use of government and commercial infrastructure. Food's fun. So I love the debating part. I've done several debates about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. But for someone that just coming, I don't think somebody's going to give you a list like A to Z, pick your thing, like which one do you want to do? I think you got to come and figure it out. And if 5 years ago, 2 years ago, if somebody asked me what would be my thing in 2025, I would have never guessed it was like playing with my band at the Porcupine burning. Like I would have never occurred to me. I wanted to debate David Friedman on something, or something, like my direction changed. So anyway, my summary of my advice is I think you have to come and figure it out. It's very difficult to explain PorcFest. And I've spent lots of time in Florida trying to explain PorcFest to people and get them to come up here. There's no elevator pitch for it, I don't think. PorcFest is a 1 week gathering of a free society as an experiment.
Yeah. It is interesting because I we had a very successful PorcFest this year, I think, and the feedback I've gotten from people afterwards is wonderful. But one person did give me some feedback. It's like, the advertising for PorcFest is generally very focused on the speakers who are coming, right? And but there's so much more to PorcFest than just like a speaker. You might see it at the pavilion. It's like, and so I guess it is kind of like the hard thing to wrestle with is, how do you communicate what PorcFest is? It's like, I can say Scott Horton speaking, and everyone who knows Scott Horton is like, great. I want to hear Scott Horton or Joel Salatin or Connor Boyack or all these folks, or Ross Ulbricht. All these folks are coming out and doing talks. And it's like it's a quick and easy way to communicate like a reason to come out to PorcFest, but it also it's like the tip of the iceberg, right? Because it's while that person is speaking on the pavilion, there's like maybe 50, there could be 50 other events going on at the exact same time, or just or spontaneous things that are starting up all around the campground. It's a really choose your own adventure experience. It's not like a typical go to a conference and hear some speakers kind of event.
There's so many events and so many simultaneously of different thing you could imagine, from like Porcupine's events with kids to Ron Paul's on speaking, over the internet, or Scott Horton. And I found just like with my first year, I think the bigger speakers help make me want to come. Like you see the list of who's going to be here. Scott Horton, for example, he's a great example. Like seeing Scott Horton in person, that's like an honor and a privilege, and like that would be awesome. But then I found out, then I saw him at the pavilion once or twice. This is really cool. But last year, or maybe it was the year before, I went to an event that Scott Horton held, and it was at his campsite, and there was maybe 10 of us, and it was 2 hours of Scott Horton discussing how to write a book, like with all this one-on-one. And I'm like, this is PorcFest to me, like getting to spend 2 hours talking to Scott Horton. And then I see him at Tom Wood's 2000 show, and we chat for a while, I get to, see David Friedman, sit and have lunch at the same place with David Friedman. I think of that now more. It's community building, but it isn't as focused on the show. Even though I do suspect for people who never heard much about it, they see the list of speakers, and that helps bring them there. But once they're there, they might find out they don't actually even go to very many pavilion events. They can't even get there.
I guess it's like a positive bait and switch. Like, we baited you with all these speakers, and then you realize, like, oh, there was something even more magical going on at PorcFest. And I think about that too. Like, PorcFest this year was like, hey, Scott Horton gave a foreign policy talk. I love hearing Scott Horton do a foreign policy talk. But you can hear Scott Horton do a foreign policy talk like all over the place, anywhere. You could listen to his podcast and get a foreign policy talk from Scott Horton, and he's great. He's one of the best at it. But at PorcFest, you got to see Scott Horton do stand-up comedy. And that's truly a unique experience. Like, I think that's the best. It's almost kind of hitting on something, a lot of these big name speakers, the best part about it is you maybe they give a speech, but you also get to interact with them and experience them in a different side of them, a different context, a different, the kind of stuff that like happens at, the kind of stuff that only happens at summer camp, our libertarian summer camp. I do want to. I know we got to talk about Freedom Palooza. That's what I want to talk about. But before we do that, I'm really curious because I just have to know, Keith, what is your argument against the Declaration of Independence? I love the Declaration of Independence. I love it so much better than the Constitution.
Oh, I must have misspoke. I did it on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh,
did I say Declaration?
I think you said Declaration of Independence.
Oh, okay. Well, we got to go back and can we start over? Because I don't want to say that. That's one of the most, I'm pro-secession, and that's one of the best secession documents there ever was.
Yeah, best breakup letter ever written.
The holiday is a secession, celebration of secession, even though it's been converted into a nationalist holiday. So I'm sorry about that mistake. And I'm glad you questioned me, because that's definitely wrong. The idea that, that the people, if they need to, they have the duty, they have the right, they have the duty to form a new government.
Yeah, like, and New Hampshire's constitution is one of the only state constitutions that explicitly protects the right to revolution and to form. The whole thing is about split up. That's the shirt I picked to wear. All right. Irreconcilable differences between the porcupines and the sheep.
Yeah, I had to pick a shirt, and I was pulling through them. Oh, this is the one. Yeah. So, it was about the Pledge of Allegiance. So,
all right. Well, this is a little bit more of a softball then. Like,
okay,
what could anyone have to say against the Pledge of Allegiance? Don't you think it's important that kids from the age of 5 years old up pledge their allegiance to the national government?
I would. If you want me to do it quick, I would just point people to my Twitter, which is @BessetteKeith. That's my pinned post. But I go through it phrase by phrase and explain why every phrase in there is wrong, completely wrong. Starting with I pledge allegiance to a flag, like no, and that was my 3-minute rant. So, but yeah, if you want to pick out one line, just randomly pick one. Indivisible, no. In fact, the whole country's formed on being divisible. That's the principle.
A little secret that only a few people picked up on. My seatmate in the state Senate, who's now running for governor, by the way, picked up on it. Whenever we would have to do the Pledge of Allegiance in the Maine State Senate, like my just little act of protest would just be to say divisible instead of indivisible.
That's a good start.
I didn't think anyone picked up on it, but
I
he turned to me one day and said, I like it better the way that it was written.
Indivisible. Oh, that was the comment.
Yeah.
I started.
You mean by the socialist who wrote it?
Yes, by Bellamy. I started by realizing like one thing at a time was wrong. And so when I've been in a bunch of liberty groups in Florida. And so I would start by like, well, I don't say this line. And then I realized like, oh, this one's wrong too. So I don't say that one. And then I got to the point where there's only like 2 phrases I was saying. And then I realized those were both bullshit too. So I stopped saying all of it and people would just stare at me. And then I started like, I don't really like this at all. The more I thought about it. So I started sitting down. Now that if you're in a conservative group, they don't like that at all. And now what I do, if you really want to piss them off, don't take your hat off. So I just sit in my chair and I don't take my hat off. And
That's
I
how
look
you
at my
became
phone.
the hat guy, right?
Yeah, that's a music thing. I shouldn't combine this too. But I sit there and look at my phone with my hat on, sitting down while people are saying the pledge.
Well, I don't go that. I don't go that far, but I do think it's amusing that the thing that everyone fights about is the under God, and I feel like that's one of the least objectionable parts of the whole thing. It's like a distraction.
Yeah, and that it wasn't even. That wasn't in the original one. Is my understanding. That was added later. But anyway, I don't say it at all. But then I wasn't in the main Senate. I was in like a Convention of States group and
That's fair. That's
some
fair.
other liberty defenders thing. And
I
and
prefer
my condo board. That's what I'm talking about. So it's opened a lot of conversations, not a lot, but it's opened some conversations, and it's helped me figure out, will I ever be friends with this person? Because if they can't have a straight up conversation about why I don't say the Pledge of Allegiance, then we'll probably never be good friends. So I found it's actually a good filter mechanism.
There was a great video. We're going so off track here, but we'll get to Freedom Palooza, I promise. Remember the guy who had this comedian, Trevor or something. He was in that show, The Whitest Kids You Know, and he had the whole sketch of like the kids in school, like doing the Pledge of Allegiance. It's like, I pledge allegiance to the flag. Starts off as you remember it, but then it kind of goes off to, and I pledge, if our country ever goes to war, it is often wont to do, that I will go off and kill all the other nation's children. God bless Johnson and Johnson. God bless GE. Amen. And the teacher says, "Great job, kids. Come get your Ritalin." Right. And it's kind of, I don't know.
Honest version. That's good.
Honest. Kind of what that. And the kids are chanting to themselves, "This is not a form of brainwashing. This is not a form of brainwashing." Love the country. Don't love this. Don't love the government. All right. That was a very fun tangent,
okay.
but let's talk about Freedom Palooza. What is Freedom Palooza? How long has it been going on? And why should people come later this month, July 25th through the 27th?
Well, Freedom Palooza is it's a gathering, a liberty-minded community gathering for a weekend. With camping or day passes. So it's got some of the aspects of PorcFest or Liberty Forum in it, where the community there is very selected from the general population. They're liberty-minded people. This one is the second annual. So last year was the first one that it was held. And it was kind of an experiment done purposely, very small. This one's considerably bigger, a lot more music acts. Last year, Free State Acoustics and a few impromptu bands were the music there. This, as you read in the beginning, is a whole list of it. So it's a music-focused event, though. So it's similar to PorcFest in how it's camping, gathering of people. It's a community where all kinds of discussions, like it would be perfectly fine to talk about the Pledge of Allegiance as being every phrase wrong, and it probably wouldn't bat an eye. If you wear a taxation is theft T-shirt, nobody will think twice about you. Like, of course. So it's that same community part. It's not, there actually aren't scheduled talks. It isn't about the talks part. It's about gathering with your people, and it's music focused. So all the scheduled events at Freedom Palooza are music events and food events. They have breakfast. There's a community dinner that's provided by the hosts on Friday. There's breakfast, but it's primarily music. So if you go into the website, freedompalooza.newhampshire.com, you see that the scheduled events are different bands. A little plug for Free State Acoustics. We're playing Friday evening. It's at Roaring Brook Farms is the name of it. It's a private homestead. Chris and Jennifer, they're the hosts of the North Country Porcupine Lounge at PorcFest. So if anybody's gone to that, they they run a food and music and some talks lounge. So I look at Freedom Palooza. This is kind of my definition, but it's an expansion of their hub at PorcFest. So there's no conflicting events. There's a single event. The camping is pretty much off-grid style camping. You pick a spot on the farm, set up your site. There's no campsite numbers. There's no hookups, but they do have water. They have well water. They set up a washing station for washing dishes. There's an awesome brook that runs right through the middle of the property with a little swimming hole, knee deep, but you can go in there. And for the brave that want to handle the cold mountain water, that's awesome when it's hot. The whole place is solar powered, which is a little fun side for the geeky people. They have a huge solar array. So the whole event, all that recording in that garage, that's all running off solar. So I kind of think of it as it's not, PorcFest isn't really a perfect analogy, but it's the community part of that. It's a great place to meet porcupines, to learn about Free State Project, to learn about parts of New Hampshire. Somebody that's thinking about moving to New Hampshire, maybe hasn't even gone to PorcFest yet, or has gone to PorcFest and wants to continue that discussion. You could spend a weekend camping with people that are in the Liberty mindset and ask questions. And and definitely North Country, there'd be a lot of North Country people there, including the hosts.
Well, I would certainly say, now I missed it last year. I was very disappointed to miss it last year. Right after PorcFest last year, I was in the process of moving from Maine to New Hampshire, and it was settling into my new home where I'm recording from right now. So I missed it last year, but looking forward to it very much this year. What was the turnout like last year? Like what's the size of the crowd generally at Freedom Palooza?
Well, I don't think last year was an experiment. I don't know the number, 50 maybe on Saturday night, something like that. Saturday, camping, there was in the 25 range. Okay. I'm kind of guessing that, so it's small scale
and intimate.
That was very intimate. And that was an experiment, all with people who knew the hosts, Chris and Jennifer, to kind of try it. This year, they've expanded it, by far. This is a much bigger thing. So it was kind of a trial run, like a trial run to see what would happen. And the music events were filled the barn, the early evening music events. Bloom Pizza came out with their local North Country Free Staters, recent movers. They came with their pizza oven and they made pizzas. They're going to be there again. They're opening it up to food vendors. I don't know what the sign up is for that. If you want to sell something, you said it's private property. So if Chris and Jennifer are good with it, another thing, I know I'm listing things that it's different from PorcFest. It's like PorcFest without Rogers. I'll just leave it at that. It's at Chris and Jennifer's farm. So if they're okay with it, it's okay. If they're not okay with it, then go away. Like that's kind of the thing. So that whole infrastructure part isn't there. And this year will be considerably bigger. I don't know what the ticket sales numbers is. I mean, they didn't do the Eventbrite part. They didn't do any of that last year. It was an experiment. So I can't really directly answer the question, what is typical? I think this year will show what the first one's like.
All right.
And it took a long time to build a festival like this. PorcFest 22 is bigger than PorcFest 2.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I know that in part of our efforts at the Free State Project, we want to really help support and promote a lot of these homegrown kind of community events, because for no other reason, we need more opportunities and more anchor events that are attractive for people to come from outside New Hampshire and come visit and experience kind of the community in the Free State. So this is a great opportunity for anyone who might be watching, who is maybe you missed out on PorcFest. Maybe you had a conflict, you weren't able to make it. I mean, that was a real shame, you missed out. But this is in the North Country in the summertime with a lot of the same people, and it's more music oriented. Maybe that's maybe you're more music oriented anyway. This is a great fit for you. But it's also a great fit for within all the regions of the Free State movement. I find that the regions can become a little siloed a little bit. I mean, people have their different clubhouses and their events that kind of happen there, and it's great kind of for fostering these regional communities. But there are only a small handful of events where I really feel like, like PorcFest, Liberty Forum, you see people from all across the state, all across the Free State movement come together and intermix and intermingle. And this is a great event for that. So it's, the North Country Free Staters, the North Country Porcupines are really doing the heavy lift to put this on. It'd be great for Free Staters from the Seacoast, from the Manchester region, from Keene, from wherever. A great opportunity for us all to get together, enjoy a little bit more time in the North Country in the summer, because, I mean, let's be honest, like, North Country is one of the most beautiful places in America to be during the summertime. That's why PorcFest is in the North Country. And
there are people from other regions. So I don't know the mix. That'd be interesting to know. And there's a few people I've heard from other states that are coming, mostly from nearby states. But the band, you just played the song, the violin players, Seacoast Free State, Carol Pratt, and Dennis will be there. And Scott Scheller's coming, who's one of the co-founders of the Shell, with his wife Bernarda, and she's going to sing a couple songs with us too. She sang a few. So it's a gathering of all the regions. Free State Acoustics isn't really tied to the North Country. There's actually of the band, there's only one of them that lives in the North Country. So we're spread out. Carol and Dennis live in the Seacoast. We've played
the band members live in Florida.
Yeah, that's the problem. I know. But as it turns out, we didn't really get a lot of winter invites to do shows. So it's actually not that hard to cover that up, because people tend to stay inside more in the winter.
Well, if I had known, we would invite you to come speak at Porcupine Day in February, just to give you a push to come up for the winter.
February. I went to Liberty Forum. It was not too bad then.
Yeah, well,
I didn't even bring my long johns. Plus, it was in a conference center and hotel.
Yeah. Porcupine Day this year, we did some axe throwing, which was a lot of fun.
I'd watched some of the video, I think. Yes, that was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be great. Am I gonna be singing with the Free State Acoustics again? Are you guys gonna rope me in to sing something, or you guys got a full?
No. You're on the list to come up on the Friday night and sing. Certainly, you got to do your signature song that you did down at the fire at the Porcupine burning. Right?
We got a couple of ones we were working on.
I don't know if we can arrange a rocket launch in the middle of the song. Like we had. As you're singing Major Tom to Ground Control, a rocket was launched.
Yeah, that was good timing by Brian Becker, who was had previously been teaching, I think, adults and kids how to do kind of bottle rocket launches.
It's a good simultaneous PorcFest kind of event. So there was Free State Acoustics was playing, the Porcupine burning was going on, and also Brian was teaching kids to launch rockets all in the same location. And those three things fit together fine.
Yeah. It was there's a serendipity to all of these things happening, or might even be what the Austrians call spontaneous order. You don't need a central planner. We can find those ways to bring our efforts together to build things that are truly astounding.
Yeah, Ludwig von Mises predicted PorcFest, really.
I bet if he was alive, he would be there.
he would be one of the main stage speakers.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to Freedom Palooza, and for folks listening in, then you have heard it. You'll get to hear me sing a song or two with the Free State Acoustics, which is not something that most people can say, right? It's kind of like seeing Scott Horton do stand-up comedy. Hear Eric Brakey sing with Space Oddity, or some of the other songs we've been working on. We've been working on Gravedigger by Dave Matthews Band. That's been a fun one,
and something totally different.
Yeah.
It's so dark, but that's fun. Yeah. We'll
What
have
is
to pick a third song and work on it. And Freedom Palooza will also be new bands and working on new songs. I'm playing bass Saturday afternoon with Jody Shaw's band. So a lot of that will be happening. There'll be some jamming. There'll be some new bands forming. Like you mentioned, Free State Acoustics formed at PorcFest around the campfire 2 years ago. That's how it got started. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some new combinations come out of Freedom Palooza, new music. And you never know what would happen. What will happen.
Bring all these talented people together, and what collaborations will come.
And camp for the weekend. That's, you don't know what will happen. And you don't know what will be discussed or without a formal talk schedule, but Free Staters talk about a lot of stuff when they know they're out of earshot of the man.
Well, we still carry these cell phones around with us. We don't know what they're listening to.
I think you have to put all cell phones have to go in a Faraday cage. No, I'm joking.
Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going for the whole weekend. I encourage others to as well. But if you can only come for a day,
very good.
Part of the experience is better than none of the experience.
They have day passes and weekend camping passes and various options in the Eventbrite link. So
and people can find that at freedompaloozanh.com. And that basically, it's just a redirect link. It redirects you to the Eventbrite where you can purchase tickets. Anything else to cover on Freedom Palooza, Keith? I
think we mentioned it. Did we mention where it is? It's in Northumberland. It's the next town north of Lancaster. So if you know where Rogers Campground PorcFest is, it's 20 minutes north of that. So same general area.
Yeah. And I will say there are people who were saying going into PorcFest this year that there should have been more music. I actually think music worked out really well this year. You had with Jordan Page was excellent doing concerts in the pavilion, but then there was so much music happening just out and around the campground and all of that. Music is not the focus of PorcFest, but it is something that people have spontaneously developed, and like the Free State Acoustics has developed over time. But this is an event that's more music focused. So if you're one of those people who thought there should have been even more music at PorcFest, then if you're not coming to Freedom Palooza, then I don't know that you were serious in your criticism. You should you should come to Freedom Palooza and see what a smaller scale PorcFest that's much more musically focused could be like.
I think you should bring the list of everyone whose comment on PorcFest was there should be more music and check them off. They better be at Freedom Palooza.
I know. Unfortunately, I didn't keep a list, and I guess I'm just thinking of one person who said that, but I remember
there was a lot more music this year than there has been in the previous years I went.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of musical acts at PorcFest last year, but I just felt like it didn't quite work because a lot of them were like in the pavilion, and it works for Jordan Page this year because Jordan Page, like, there's a whole bunch of old timers who love Jordan Page from when they remember him being the bard of the Ron Paul Revolution, and people will fill that out. But for a lot of these other musicians that were maybe less known, they were very good musicians, but they didn't have like maybe the cult following that Jordan Page does. Like, people were listening, but they want to be out by the campfire. And so they're listening from outside, but the room just feels so empty. It was, I don't know that music worked out so well last year. It worked out very well this year. And I think what worked this year was, we had one featured musician we used quite a bit, and it worked the pavilion, even though the acoustics aren't always the greatest in the pavilion for music. But like what the Free State Acoustics was doing, the different kind of music that was just happening out around the entire festival, doesn't necessarily need to be. It's not always best if it's like up there on the main pavilion. It's sometimes best when it's just out and around the people.
The community thing with smaller music is more fun, I think. And I haven't done a lot of, I've never done an arena kind of music, but the pavilion is not as fascinating to me as like LPNH tent, North Country Porcupines. We played at the Seacoast Lounge.
Yeah.
So I think it's more fun, like the hub concept.
Yeah.
And the fire, playing at the Porcupine burning was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just did it. So, and walking around this year, there was a bunch of music being played at different hubs, smaller scale, and you can interact with the musicians, which there's less of that at the pavilion size. And if you can't fill the pavilion, it's not as much fun, and it's hard to fill the pavilion.
Do you know if anyone filmed the stuff around the campfire on the last night and the burning of the Porcupine?
I don't know. I haven't. I've seen some very short clips, but not like a whole song or.
Yeah. Well,
good question. I didn't.
Yeah, video like that doesn't necessarily even really capture the magic of the moment, you know. So I'm an old school theater guy. It's supposed to be ephemeral. It happens and then it goes into the ether, and you had to be there for it. And that's why people shouldn't miss out on Freedom Palooza. You got to be there for it.
Yes, good segue.
So, all right, Keith, any final words you want to share with folks before we wrap up? And then we've got
hope to see you at Freedom Palooza. If you want to look up some of our music and the videos we're playing, just go to YouTube. My channel's Keith the Hat Guy. So my YouTube channel, also KeithTheHatGuy.com. That comes from a group I was in Florida where I was Keith the Hat Guy. That's how people remembered me. Nobody remembers me by name. And I live in South Florida. I don't go outside without a hat on. So that's where that comes from. But anyway, if there's a playlist. If you go to Keith the Hat Guy YouTube channel, look for the Free State Acoustics playlist. We got about 10 or 12 songs in there. Check out our music, and I hope to see you at Freedom Palooza.
I will see you there, Keith. Thanks for coming on. All right, everyone, that's the show. Really appreciate you joining us tonight. A few things. Again, get your tickets for Freedom Palooza. FreedomPaloozaNH.com. Use discount code Porcupine 2025 for 5% off. Remember, of course, that the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance dinner is coming up 10 days from the day of publication of this episode. That's going to be Saturday, July 19th. You can get your tickets at libertydinner.com. I'll see you there. And of course, the Ron Paul 90th birthday barbecue celebration in Lake Jackson, Texas. That is ronpaulbbq.com. So many events happening. Only one that will require you to leave New Hampshire. The rest, we want to invite you to New Hampshire. But come out and join us for those. And I do also want to note, I want to give a big thank you to our producer for the show, Renita, who is our video production strategist for the Free State Project. She's leading our efforts to get all of the content from PorcFest, all of the speakers who spoke at the main pavilion, and the audio talks that took place at Liberty 101, processed and published on our FSP social media pages. So if that's the content that you're looking for, we are publishing about three videos a week. We kind of space those out across the week. So it's going to be a rolling release rather than just, otherwise it would take us months to do it all, and we would drop it all at once on a YouTube page and people wouldn't find it. This way, it's a rolling release of content over the course of the next couple weeks and months until we get through it all. So you're going to want to be sure to follow us on our social media pages on Facebook and X and YouTube. That's where you can find a lot of those. And also we have a Spotify channel called FSP Talks. And this is where we put up a lot of the audio content that happens at Liberty Forum and PorcFest. And you want to be sure to subscribe to that, and you'll get that directly to your phone whenever we publish a new episode, just like a podcast, just like this. So thank you to our producer, Renita, for all the work she does there to deliver such important and valuable content for the Free State community and for those who are curious about the ideas and the movement. And I guess that's it. That's the show. So thank you for tuning in. We have as a final treat for you, we have a music video of a full song from Free State Acoustics. Will be running in just 1 second. But before that, furthermore, my opinion is the Federal Reserve should be destroyed.
remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without a care, you know you're out of touch.